It is my great pleasure to welcome you to the world of learning new concepts and current trends, so let's start. All right, so we're always talking about the cloud, right? But what actually is it? Is it just data floating up in the sky? Not even close. Today we're going to pull back the curtain and show you that the cloud is a very real, very physical thing. It's basically digital real estate, and we're going to decode it. So let's just start with this question. If the internet has a home, where does it actually live? Because I promise you, it's not some fluffy thing up in the atmosphere. It lives in these massive, humming, powerful data centers all over the planet. And cloud computing is really just about how companies use all that physical space. You know, the absolute best way to get your head around the cloud is to think of it exactly like real estate. No, seriously. Every single choice a company makes is like deciding where to open up their business. Do they rent an apartment, buy a house, or maybe build their own skyscraper? This one analogy is going to make everything else click into place. Okay, so sticking with our real estate analogy, the very first thing you have to decide on is your neighborhood. In the tech world, we call this a deployment model. There are 4 main ways to do it, and each one has a totally different vibe. First up, we've got the public cloud. The perfect way to picture this is a giant, bustling apartment building. And the landlords, they are the huge names you already know. Amazon, Google, Microsoft. You're just renting an apartment, and you share all the building's main resources. You know, the elevators, the plumbing, the security guard at the front door, with thousands of other tenants. So what's the deal with renting? Well, the upside is obvious, right? It's super cost effective, you just pay for what you use, and if you need more space, you can get a bigger apartment tomorrow. But, and this is a big but, you don't make the building rules. You're sharing everything. And for some companies, that raises some big questions about privacy and security. Now, on the complete opposite end of the spectrum, we have the private cloud. This isn't renting an apartment. Oh no. This is owning your own private house with a big yard and a white picket fence. You are in total control. You design the floor plan, you install the security system. It's all yours and only yours. Of course, as any homeowner knows, ownership is amazing, but it costs you. The security and control you get are top of the line, which is perfect if you're protecting sensitive stuff. But just like a real house, the down payment, that upfront cost, is huge. And you're on the hook for all the maintenance, which means you need a pretty skilled crew to keep the lights on. Then we have a kind of specialized option called the community cloud. The best analogy for this one is a gated community or maybe a housing co-op. This is where a few different organizations that have something in common, like say a bunch of hospitals that all have to follow the same strict patient privacy laws, get together, pool their money, and build a shared space that's custom built just for them. The benefit here is pretty clear. You get to split the costs, but still get a place that's tailored for your specific needs. The downside? Well, now you've got a homeowners association to deal with. You're sharing the decision-making, and getting everyone to agree can get complicated. And that brings us to our last option, the hybrid cloud. And honestly, this is how most of the modern world works. Think of it this way. You own your secure house for all your most valuable, important stuff, but you also rent a cheap, flexible storage unit down the street for everything else. It's the best of both worlds. So yeah, the key word here is flexibility. You keep your crown jewels, all your super sensitive data, locked up safe in your private house. At the same time, you use the cheap, massive power of the public storage unit for things that aren't as critical. It's a great model for sure, but the tricky part is making sure your house and your storage unit can work together seamlessly. Okay, so you've picked your neighborhood, your property type. Now for the next big question. What actually comes with the property? Are you getting an empty plot of land, an unfurnished house, or is it a fully furnished move-in ready place? This next layer is what we call the cloud service model. There are really 3 main levels of move-in ready. And you're going to hear these acronyms everywhere: IaaS, PaaS, and SaaS. Just think of it as a spectrum, going from total do-it-yourself on one end to everything is done for you on the other. Let's break them down. So let's start at the very foundation with IaaS, or Infrastructure as a Service. This is like the cloud provider giving you a raw, empty plot of land. They give you the basics, the servers, the storage, the networking, but that's it. You have to bring in the architect, the construction crew, the plumber. You have to build the entire house from scratch. It's the most control, but it's also the most work. All right, one step up the ladder is PaaS, which stands for Platform as a Service. With PaaS, the provider doesn't just give you the land, they've actually built the house for you. The walls are up, the roof is on, the electricity is working. Your job is just to come in and furnish it. Bring in your own furniture, your appliances, your decorations. In tech terms, that means your applications and your data. And that brings us to the top of the pyramid, SaaS, or Software as a Service. This is the fully furnished, all-inclusive 5-star hotel experience. The provider manages literally everything. You don't build anything, you don't furnish anything, you just show up and use it. If you've ever used Gmail or Microsoft 365 or Salesforce, you're using SaaS. It is the definition of convenience. So we have our neighborhood type, and we have our service level. With all these choices, how does any company possibly decide what's right for them? Well, when you boil it all down, it almost always comes down to one single fundamental trade-off. And that trade-off is cost versus control. That's the whole game. And one side, renting that public cloud apartment is way, way cheaper because the landlord is buying resources on a massive scale. But on the other side, owning your own private house gives you absolute control over your security and your data. Every cloud decision is just about finding the perfect sweet spot on that spectrum. So, why does any of this digital real estate jargon actually matter to you? Well, because whether you realize it or not, you are living and working inside this massive digital city every single day. Think about it. Every single app on your phone, every movie you stream, it's all running on a wild combination of these different models. Your bank's core account information, that's probably locked down tight in a private cloud house. But the slick mobile app you use to check your balance, that might be running out of a public cloud apartment building to make it fast and scalable for millions of users. It's this huge interconnected world. And that leaves us with one final and pretty important question to think about. As our data, our photos, our work, our private messages is constantly flowing between these rented apartments and these private homes, who really holds the master keys? Who is the ultimate landlord of our digital lives?